Welcome to another episode of the MemcycoFM show. Today we're diving deep into something really critical for protecting your brand online. We're talking about choosing the right domain takedown service.
Yeah, it's a big one. It's a challenge we see so many organizations grappling with, whether they're already dealing with brand impersonation, which is a real headache, or trying to get ahead of it.
And the stakes are just incredibly high, aren't they?
They really are. I mean, you're talking about customer trust just eroding away. And then there's the real danger of credential harvesting on a large scale, plus, serious financial losses.
Exactly. And you might think, okay, domain takedown sounds simple enough. Find someone to shut down the bad sites.
Right. Seems straightforward.
But when you actually look at how digital impersonation works now,
yeah,
it's way more complex.
Oh, definitely. Attackers are clever. They're using typist squatting, those slightly misspelled names. They're using homoglyphs, which are those characters that look almost identical. Very tricky.
And they spin these sites up and down so fast, right?
Yeah.
And use cloaking.
Uh-huh. Rapid rotation, cloaking to hide from scanners. It all makes simple takedown much harder.
So that's why we wanted to do this deep dive. We want to pull out the really critical things you need to ask when you're evaluating a domain takedown service. We're drawing on some key insights here.
And importantly, we also need to talk about why even the best takedown service, sort of on its own, has real limitations. It's not a silver bullet.
Okay, let's get into it then.
Yeah.
If you're looking at these services, what's the first big question you absolutely have to ask? Where do you start?
Right. The first thing, number one, has to be detection coverage. How wide and how deep do they actually look? Because, simply put, you can't take down what you don't even know exists.
So it's not just about checking known blacklists or databases.
No, not nearly enough. Those lists are always playing catch-up. Damage could easily be done by then. What you need is proactive, continuous scanning, and it needs global visibility. Really looking everywhere all the time.
That makes perfect sense. Like if you're a global e-commerce brand, you've got customers everywhere. The fakes could pop up anywhere, maybe even in different languages.
Exactly. So you've got to ask, are they just looking in the usual places, or are they actively hunting worldwide? And do they have the language capabilities to understand what they're finding? That's key.
Okay, so coverage is crucial. Let's say they do find a threat. What's next? Speed, I imagine.
Speed. Absolutely paramount. That's question number two. How fast can they actually take it down?
Because these sites don't last long, do they?
Shockingly short lifespan sometimes. We often see phishing sites up for maybe 4 to 8 hours. That's it.
Wow, 4 hours. So if your takedown service has like a 24-hour SLA.
Yeah, that 24-hour service level agreement, it sounds okay on paper, but in reality, potentially way too slow. Think about it. Thousands of users could get hit in that time. Even an hour's delay could mean, hundreds or thousands of compromised accounts.
Ouch. That really highlights why you need maybe sub-hourly SLAs and ways to escalate.
Exactly. Sub-hourly isn't a luxury anymore. It's pretty much a necessity. You need to know their escalation paths. What happens with a really urgent threat? What are their actual historical takedown times, not just the promise? Do they have emergency procedures? You need the specifics.
Gotcha. Okay, so coverage, speed, what's the third key area? Integration.
Yes, integration.
Yeah.
How well does this service plug into everything else you're doing, security-wise?
Your existing security workflows and tools.
Exactly. You want it to work smoothly with your threat intelligence feeds, your SOC, your security operations center, basically the team watching the monitors. Integration often happens through APIs, maybe dedicated dashboards or alerts going straight into your SIEM system.
Your security information and event management system.
Right. That kind of tight integration just streamlines everything. It makes the internal response much faster when something is found.
Less chance of things falling through the cracks. Less coordination hassle. Makes sense.
Oh, okay.
Number 4, automation versus manual processes. I guess this is about scale.
It's absolutely about scale. You can't tackle this manually anymore. The volume is too high. The speed is too fast. Trying to do it by hand, you'll drown.
So automation is key here. What kind of automation are we talking about?
Well, things like AI-driven scanning using artificial intelligence to find suspicious domains proactively, enforcement bots that can automate parts of the actual takedown request process, and good case management tools to keep track of everything efficiently.
And that helps with speed, but also just managing the workload for the security team.
Definitely. It reduces analyst fatigue, prevents burnout, and just makes the whole process more efficient and, frankly, more effective.
Okay, and the 5th big question area. Transparency and reporting.
Yes, absolutely critical. You need visibility. What actually happened? How well did the service perform? Clear metrics are essential. Where did the threat come from? How long was the fake site actually live before it came down? How many threats were successfully neutralized?
And you need that for tracking effectiveness, but also for things like compliance, right?
Exactly. Historical trending data is really useful.
Right.
And detailed forensic reporting, things like timestamped logs, that's vital, especially if legal or compliance teams need to get involved and document exactly what occurred and when.
Okay, so those 5 questions, coverage, speed, integration, automation, reporting, give you a really solid framework for evaluating a service. But you mentioned earlier, even the best service has limitations. Let's dig into that.
Yeah, this is a really crucial point to understand. Takedown, by its very definition, is reactive. It only happens after the malicious site is already up and running.
So there's always that gap.
There's always that initial window of exposure. And even if the takedown is super fast minutes, let's say damage can still happen. A convincing phishing site can trick a lot of people very quickly. Thousands, potentially.
So you're always playing defense, trying to catch up.
You are. It's damage control, fundamentally. It's not proactive prevention in the truest sense, which is a very different posture.
And that leads to another limitation. You mentioned the visibility problem. Often these things only get reported after someone's already fallen for it.
That's often the case, unfortunately. Relying only on victim reports means you're only seeing the tip of the iceberg. You're not seeing all the attempts, just the ones that succeeded and got reported. It's not a true defense.
And even when a site is taken down, the service might not tell you much about the attack itself.
Right. Often, traditional takedown services don't give you deep insight into who is targeted. You might not know what specific information people entered on the fake site or even what kind of devices they were using.
Which leaves your security team kind of in the dark.
Very much so. They have an incomplete picture. It makes it really hard to understand the full impact or to take effective follow-up actions to protect those affected or prevent the next attack.
And you also mentioned the lack of real-time alerts is a big one.
Yes. Without getting early warnings or some kind of predictive signal, organizations are just constantly reacting after the fact. That constant catch-up game creates risks. Compliance risks, definitely, and potentially major PR headaches too, depending on the industry.
Okay, so if takedown alone, even good takedown, isn't enough because it's reactive and has these blind spots, what does a complete strategy look like? What's the alternative?
Well, a complete strategy has to move beyond just reacting. It needs to be proactive, predictive, and operate in real time. The goal shifts. It's not just about taking down bad sites. It's about spotting threats early, responding instantly, and disrupting the attackers before customers even interact with those fake sites.
So stopping the attack while it's in progress, essentially.
Exactly. Intervening during the attack lifecycle itself.
You mentioned some interesting proactive elements, like identifying victims in real time. How does that work?
Yeah, that involves technology that can actually see who is interacting with or being directed towards these malicious sites as it's happening. This gives security teams immediate visibility into the attack scope. They can see who's affected and potentially warn them or intervene before they give away credentials.
That sounds powerful. And you also mentioned using decoy credentials, like bait.
Kind of, yeah. It's a deception technique. You strategically place marked, non-sensitive credentials out there. If an attacker scoops these up and tries to use them on a fake login page, bang, it triggers an immediate alert.
So it exposes their infrastructure and their activity.
Precisely. It confirms the site is malicious and can help block further attempts.
And this broader proactive strategy, it also includes things like spotting potential account takeovers early and dealing with search engine scams.
Yes, definitely. Early detection of signals that might indicate an account takeover, ATO attempt, is brewing. Mitigating SEO poisoning, where attackers manipulate search results to lead users to fake sites. And even running active deception campaigns to confuse attackers and waste their resources.
So all these things aim to fill that takedown gap we talked about, acting during the attack.
Exactly. They address the limitations of purely reactive takedown by intervening much earlier, ideally preventing the harm altogether. These are capabilities that go way beyond standard takedown.
Which brings us, I suppose, to Memcyco's approach. It sounds like domain takedown is part of what they do, but within a much bigger picture.
That's right. Memcyco does offer domain takedown capabilities, yes, as part of their platform. But their core focus, as we've been discussing, is really on that real-time pre-takedown protection. The technology is designed specifically to protect credentials and data, while those fake sites might still be active, directly tackling those weaknesses of waiting for the takedown to complete.
Okay, so let's try and summarize the main points from our deep dive today. Choosing a domain takedown service is important, no doubt. You've got to look hard at coverage, speed, integration, automation, and reporting, those 5 pillars.
Absolutely. You need to do your homework on those.
But, and this is the big but, you have to recognize that even the best takedown service is reactive. It has built-in limitations.
It does. And to really protect yourself against modern digital impersonation, phishing, ATO, you need more. You need a strategy that's comprehensive and crucially proactive, looking beyond just cleanup and focusing on preventing the damage in the first place.
Right. And for anyone listening is thinking, okay, I want to see what that proactive approach actually looks like.
Well, this is where seeing the technology can really help.
Exactly. We'd encourage you to get a product tour. You can discover the kind of pioneering real-time technology that's helping big companies maintain that crucial pre-takedown protection from impersonation, phishing, and ATO.
It's a really good way to see how you can move beyond just reacting and actually get ahead of these threats.
It really is. It's a chance to see those capabilities we discussed, like real-time victim identification and interception in action, and think about how a more forward-looking approach could fit your digital risk strategy. Okay, that brings us to the end of this deep dive on domain takedown and the need for a truly comprehensive strategy. Thanks for joining us on the MemcycoFM show.